Welcome back to Black Star Dove. Welcome to my channel. As always, I need you to give me that HBO special, which means help a brother out. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours, trying to get certified. So I need you to go ahead and click that subscribe button for me. Go ahead, comment down below. I do appreciate it. This video is a remake of my previous video. Since what I wanted to do is because now that I have a whole lot better microphone and you really can't hear the outside noises, I wanted to remake several of my old videos, ones that were like, I believe had really good knowledge, and I wanted to share that with you. So this video is what's all needed besides a good credit score in order to get a credit card. Now, for the most part, your credit score does play a huge factor into getting that credit card, but there are other certain factors that you may or may not know about that determines whether or not you get a credit card or not, or if you have to go through additional hoops to try to get that credit card. Me, myself, I spent over 7 years working in fraud with multiple companies. Some are a little bit different than others, but for the most part, it's the same process. So I just wanted to let you know what else besides a credit score do you need to get an actual credit card. One moment. Let's see here. You probably live in a high fraud place. So let's check. You have Texas, Florida, New York, California. Those are considered high fraud places. So for most, like not every time, but for a lot of times, because you live in that high fraud place, especially Miami. Miami is like 85% red flag, and they want to know exactly who's living where in Miami. So like they'll try to have you go through additional security just to make sure that it's you and no one's stealing your identity. So that's one thing. The second one, the address that you're living in was previously reported as fraud. Now, this doesn't usually go for apartments, but unless that apartment complex is such a high fraud level, again, we're looking at Miami, then they might put the whole apartment complex on red alert. So let's just say you had a house and you bought a house, or you're renting a house, going to a new house, and you've seen that once you move into that new house, there's a whole lot of hoops you have to jump with different companies in order to start getting things. Well, that house was previously reported as fraudulent, having fraudulent activity. So they're gonna make you go through those hoops. What happens is that a lot of companies still believe in that old school mentality that people still living in houses for 50 years. So they say there's a good chance it's still that same person or someone related to them. So they want to make sure that they're not dealing with a fraudulent person. So that's another thing. My favorite one, and a lot of people forget this, the 90-day rule. What is the 90-day rule? If you had a name change, an address change, or phone number change within the last 90 days, chances are you're getting a red flag and you need to call in for additional screening. What that means is that your information is still very new. Like, especially for last name changes, they most definitely want to make sure that it's you. For addresses, they're like, okay, you have this new address and you previously spent this much time here. Like, we can see how much time you spent at each address. So let's just say you was living somewhere for 10 years, then all of a sudden you have a new address. Like, that's very suspicious. Same thing with the phone numbers. You had a phone number for 15 years. Now you got a new phone number. That's very suspicious. So, you got to go through those questions and things like that. That's also the same thing where, let's just say they try to send you a one-time password and you give a phone number. One or two things will happen. The reason why they turned down that phone number. Number one, it's been on your accounts less than 90 days, so it's a recently new phone number. Or number two, the phone number is not registered to you or anyone with your last name. So what happened is that a lot of people get like friend lines. They get lines through their friends and stuff. Like, oh, this phone is registered to Mr. Johnson, and you're Black Star Dove. Like, you don't have the same last name, so we can't use this number. So let's see here. One moment. Most important thing, consumer alerts. A lot of people forget about these. The first two are very common and they don't really forget about it, which is the initial one and that one only lasts for 1 year. And then you have the active duty one. But of course, if you're active duty, you know that you're active duty, so you already know you have to go through those hoops. The initial one is only for a year. After a year, you have no more protection. The one that usually gets people is the extended alert. Extended alerts are something that you have to actually pay for, and they stay on your record for 7 years. So what you're saying is that for the next 7 years, if you want any type of credit or anything like that, you can only call me at this number to verify that it's me. And they have to reach you at that number. Now, what happens is that people change their numbers, but then they forget to update the extended alert. So now we have to tell them, oh, are you available at this phone number? The last 4 digits. And they'd be like, I haven't had that phone number in like 3-4 years. This is the number you put on your alert that you paid for. And you said we have to contact you at this number. There's usually other workarounds around that. Usually like they will like go inside of a branch or go inside of a facility and show their ID and stuff like that. But for the extended alert, that person would have to update that phone number because again, they pay for that extra security. One of the biggest things that I can only say this for the fraud departments, not for customer service, but for the fraud departments, we can see your social and we can look up everything about you. Like, you don't have to be super secretive. I always found it funny when customers would be like, I don't want you to know my social. I'm like, ma'am, I see your social, your credit score. I'm looking at all your previous records. I got everything in front of me already. So that's like, trust me, I probably know more about you than you do because you probably forgot a lot of this. Like I can see almost every single address you ever had, every single phone number that's ever been associated with you, people that you put on applications as your cousin that you fill out with and you no longer speak with. Like we can see all that. But we usually never call family members and stuff. That's usually a job for collections. The only time we really call family members is if we can't reach you at a certain phone number and we're just calling numbers that are still good that were once linked to you. And then that's how we might end up getting your dad or your mom and be like, oh, and they're like, oh, like, and then you call in like, how did you get my mom's phone number? Like that's how we got it. But the most important thing when it comes to doing these processes, if you ever have to call in, be nice. Be nice. Just be nice. Like you got to understand it's just a process to protect you. Like if you start acting like an a-hole, trust me, there are ways that they will make you jump through hoops like crazy. And I know that's them being the a-hole in response, but at the same time, you know, if you were to remain calm, be respectful, trust me, they're trying to get you off the phone as quick as possible. Like they don't want to talk to you. They want to get you approved and going. So they're trying to do whatever they can just to get you approved. If just so for some happens that worst case scenario, you might have to send in some documentation, just go ahead, send it out, fax it in, email it in, they'll take care of you. But that's it. This is a video of I wanted to remake because this is some very good information. Have a better mic. I hope you like it. Subscribe if you haven't before. Thank you. I love you. Peace.